The banquet hall on planet Draxia was filled with noise, laughter, and proud aliens in golden robes. Nobles from many species stood around long tables, drinking and shouting. In the center stood the famous Baron Torque, a large alien with glowing red eyes and heavy armor. He raised his cup and spoke loudly. "This human," the Baron said, pointing to a man in a brown uniform, "saved my life in battle." The crowd clapped, some shouted in mock cheers. The man in uniform was Marcus Halle, a quiet and calm human soldier. He stood with his hands behind his back, not smiling, and for this great act, the Baron continued, "I give him a special gift." He waved his hand. A group of servants entered. They pushed a floating chair more like a hoverbed, with someone strapped to it. The laughter stopped. Everyone turned to look. It was a young alien woman. Her skin was pale purple, her long hair tied back. She did not move. Her eyes were open but lifeless. Her legs were thin and weak. Metal braces held her body straight, like she had no control. "This," said the Baron, laughing loudly, "is my daughter Valari, paralyzed since the war. Can't walk, can't fight, can't even hold a spoon." He took a sip of his drink. "But maybe the human can fix broken toys." The whole hall burst into laughter. Marcus didn't laugh. He slowly walked toward the floating chair. The woman looked at him, just a flicker in her eyes, pain, maybe shame. She didn't speak. "Is this a joke?" Marcus asked quietly. "Of course," the Baron chuckled. "But she's yours now. A gift is a gift, human. Do whatever you want with her." Marcus looked at Valari. She was still young, maybe his age. Her body was thin, but her face, it showed strength. It showed pride. Or maybe it used to. She had been someone once. He knelt down beside her, surprising everyone. He spoke gently. "What's your name?" Her lips barely moved. A weak breath escaped. Vel iri double quotes. Marcus stood up. "Then she deserves better than this circus." The room went quiet. He unstrapped her slowly and lifted her in his arms like she was precious glass. She was light, almost weightless, but her head rested on his shoulder like even that little moment brought comfort. "Where are you taking her?" the Baron asked, now confused. Marcus looked back. "Home." Whispers ran through the hall. Some nobles frowned. Some laughed again, calling him mad. But he didn't care. Outside the hall, night had fallen. Stars lit the sky. Marcus carried Valari to his small transport ship. He laid her gently on a soft bed inside and wrapped her in a warm blanket. She didn't speak. She didn't cry. She just stared at the ceiling. Marcus sat beside her and said, softly, "You're not an object. You're not a joke. And I won't treat you like one." She turned her head slightly, her voice so low he almost didn't hear it. "Why?" He looked at her, eyes calm but serious. "Because I know what it feels like to be broken. But broken doesn't mean worthless." Valari's eyes blinked. Slowly. She didn't understand this human. No one had spoken to her like that. Not since the war. Not since the injury. Not even her own father. She fell asleep that night with his words echoing in her mind. "You're not an object. You're not a joke." Valari woke to the soft humming of the ship's engine. Warm light filled the small cabin. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered the banquet, the laughter, the shame. Her eyes turned to the side. He was sitting there, the human. Marcus not sleeping, not gone, just sitting quietly in a chair, reading something on a glowing tablet. She blinked, confused. No one had ever stayed with her before. When he noticed she was awake, he stood up and smiled gently. "Good morning," he said, voice calm. "I wasn't sure if you'd ever open your eyes again." Valari tried to speak, but her throat was dry. He noticed, grabbed a bottle, and helped her drink slowly. She flinched at first, used to rough hands. But his touch was gentle, patient. "You're Safe now, Marcus said. Var. I looked around. No guards. No restraints, just clean sheets and a pillow. Her body still couldn't move, but something inside her began to shift, something small and fragile. Back on Draxia, her father had locked her in a cold room. Servants barely spoke to her. Food was dropped on the floor like she was an animal. That had been her life since the war. She had been a top cadet, a brilliant tactician. Then the blast took her legs. Her father's pride turned to disgust. The same man who once called her my future general now laughed when others mocked her. And now, this human had taken her away from all that. Marcus brought her food, not the soft, tasteless paste hospitals gave her, but real food. Warm, fresh, and when she struggled to chew, he waited. No judgment. No sighs. When he wasn't helping her eat, he talked. Not to her like others did, but with her. I was a soldier, he said. Still am, kind of, lost friends. Lost my unit in the Outer Rim Wars, got lucky during a retreat. That's how I saved your father. Valari didn't answer, but she listened. Her eyes followed his movements. You don't have to talk yet, he said. But if you want to, I'll listen. That night, while she stared at the ceiling, her fingers twitched slightly. Marcus noticed. He said nothing, but she saw the smile hiding on his lips. By the third day, Marcus brought in something odd. 2 small machines with straps, wires, and glowing lights. These are human therapy tools, he said. Very old school, but they work. I'll start slow. Valari felt fear rise inside her. She had tried therapy before. Painful, hopeless. They all gave up. Everyone gave up. Don't, she whispered. It won't work. Maybe, Marcus said, kneeling beside her bed. But I won't stop unless you tell me to. He gently strapped the machine to her legs. It hummed softly. Not painful, just warm. She flinched anyway. I'm not here to fix you, he said. I'm here to remind you. You're still you. Valari stared at him. For the first time in years, someone had spoken to her without pity, without disgust, without pretending she didn't exist. She didn't understand him. Not yet. But her heart beat faster. Later that night, as Marcus prepared her dinner, Valari asked her first real question. Why are you doing this? Marcus turned, surprised but calm. Because when I looked into your eyes, I didn't see weakness. I saw someone still fighting. She looked away, unsure how to answer. But the truth settled deep inside her. Maybe he was wrong. Or maybe, just maybe, she wasn't done yet. Valari wasn't asleep. She had learned long ago how to fake it, to keep her eyes half closed and her breathing still. It kept cruel hands away. It made people forget she was alive. But tonight, she stayed quiet for a different reason. She was watching Marcus. He sat at the workbench across the room, welding something under a bright light. Sparks flew. His brow was furrowed, his hands steady. Every now and then, he looked over at her to check if she was okay. He thought she was sleeping. But Valari was wide awake and burning with questions. Why was he building something for her? Why was he still here? Why hadn't he left like everyone else? By morning, her silence broke. What is that? She asked, her voice hoarse. Marcus turned, surprised but not shocked. You're awake. She looked at the strange metal frame in his hands. It's a support rig, he said, for your legs. It won't make you walk overnight, but it might help train the muscles slowly. No, Valari said sharply. That's stupid. My body is finished. Marcus didn't argue. He simply said, I've seen bodies heal in ways doctors thought were impossible. You don't understand, she said. Even the top medics on my planet gave up. I'm not a medic, Marcus replied. I'm just someone who doesn't give up easily. Later that day, a visitor arrived. A local alien doctor stepped into Marcus's ship. He was tall, thin, and smug. Ah, the paralyzed girl, he said. staring at Valari without greeting. Still breathing, I see. Marcus didn't like his tone, but let him speak. The doctor scanned her with a noisy device and frowned. Her neural paths are broken. No signal to the lower body, I'd say. She's hopeless. Scrap metal. Valari looked down, embarrassed. Marcus stood still for a second. Then he spoke. Get out. What? The doctor said. You're not needed here, Marcus said firmly. We don't need someone who looks at a person and sees garbage. The doctor laughed as he walked out. Good luck, human. She only disappoint you. As the ship door closed, Marcus turned to Valari. I don't care what that fool said, he told her. Do you want to stay like this forever? She blinked. No. Then let's get to work. Marcus spent the next 2 days building, adjusting, testing. Valari watched in silence. Her heart was a mix of hope and fear. On the 3rd day, he rolled the frame beside her bed. It's time, he said. Her hands trembled. I'm scared. I know, Marcus said, kneeling beside her. But I'll hold you the whole time. You won't fall. He gently strapped the frame to her body. It clicked and buzzed with energy. He helped her sit up. Then stand. Barely. Her feet touched the floor. It was like standing on knives. Her legs felt like jelly, shaking. Weak, but she was standing, even if just for 5 seconds, even if only because of him. When she fell into his arms, she expected laughter, maybe disappointment. Instead, Marcus smiled. You stood, he said softly. That's a victory. Tears filled her eyes, but she held them in. She was tired of being seen as weak. From now on, she would show the fire inside her. The world forgot what she was capable of. Marcus hadn't, and soon. Neither would anyone else. The Baron dropped his glass. It shattered on the marble floor. There, standing in front of him, barely holding herself upright, with the help of a support frame, was the daughter he had tossed away like broken furniture. Alive. Awake, and standing. The crowd in the hall froze. All music stopped. Every noble, every soldier, every servant turned to watch. Her weak body trembled, but her eyes were sharp, focused. She said only one word. Father. The Baron stepped forward slowly, his face red with disbelief. You were supposed to be gone, she said. Forgotten? Ashamed of? The room gasped. I stood taller, or tried to. Marcus was beside her, silent, firm like a wall. He didn't hold her. He didn't speak for her. She didn't need him to. Not now. Noble scoffed from the side. This is a trick, some machine perhaps. She's no warrior. She was never a warrior, another laughed. Just a paralyzed girl in a chair. But one voice challenged them all. She was your top strategy student, Marcus said. The youngest to pass the Imperial War simulations. Or did you forget? The Baron gritted his teeth. He remembered. But pride is a heavy chain. Fine, the Baron growled. You want to prove something, daughter? Prove it. He pointed toward the arena. The stratagem opens in 5 days, he declared. Enter, compete against the finest minds of the Empire. Win, and I will bow. Fail, and you return to the shadows where you belong. The room exploded with gasps and whispers. Valari didn't blink. I accept. Later that night, back in the ship, Valari leaned against the wall, her breath shallow. You didn't have to agree, Marcus said softly. I did, she answered. I've stayed silent too long, he nodded. Then let's prepare. Every hour, every moment became training, not of the body, but of the mind. Valari studied war maps, practiced simulations, ran ancient Earth military programs Marcus brought from his old files. Her hand still shook when she touched the screen, but her mind was lightning fast. She saw patterns no one else noticed. Predicted enemy moves 10 steps ahead. She was brilliant, but she didn't believe it, not yet. One night, while reviewing old war footage, she asked quietly, "Do you think I'll lose?" Marcus looked at her. "Even if you lose, you'll still Be the bravest person I know. She smiled just a little. Wrong answer, he grinned. Then fine, you'll win. And I'll cheer so loud they throw me out. On the day of the stratagem, the stadium was filled with thousands. Screens floated in the air. Reporters buzzed like insects. 8 challengers. One goal. Outthink, outlast, outdash command. And in the center, with her support frame and fire in her eyes, stood Valari, the paralyzed daughter. The discarded gift. Now, the most watched figure in the Empire. As the horns blew and the first round began, one thought echoed through the crowd. What if she wins? She didn't need to walk to defeat them. She only needed her mind. And in the arena, that mind was sharper than any blade. Valari sat at the glowing command table inside her simulation pod. Around her, holograms blinked with maps, enemy units, hidden traps. 7 other challengers were already making their moves fast. Confident, ruthless. She moved slower, but every move was precise, calculated, beautiful. From the viewing platforms above, nobles leaned in, confused. She's not losing, one whispered. She's winning, said another, eyes wide. Marcus stood in the crowd, arms crossed, heart pounding. He wasn't nervous. He had seen this fire before, quiet and hidden behind Valari's tired eyes. Now that fire was a storm. Each round tested something new: planet defense, starship command, resource survival. Opponents grew more aggressive, more angry. They didn't like losing to her, a paralyzed girl, a discarded heir, a human's pet project. So, one challenger, Commander Virex, tried to humiliate her. In round 4, he hacked her simulation path, changed her units, made her forces weaker than all others. Everyone expected her to quit. Instead, she smiled. Marcus noticed it, the first real smile since he met her. Within 5 minutes, Valari led her weak units into a perfect ambush. She turned a losing hand into a trap. Virex's army was wiped out in a simulated explosion so massive the arena shook. The crowd erupted. Even nobles who once mocked her stood up and cheered. She's not just smart, one said, she's dangerous. Backstage, between rounds, Marcus brought her water. She drank slowly, her body shaking. You okay? He asked. She nodded. My body hates me, but my mind feels alive, he chuckled. You just turned a war simulation into an art form. Valari looked at him, her eyes brighter than ever before. You gave me this chance. No one ever saw me as a fighter again. Except you, Marcus shrugged. You were never done. They just didn't look deep enough. Final round, the announcers' voice echoed through the stadium. Final match, Valari of Haustork versus Admiral Raxon, 3-time stratagem champion. The crowd went silent. This wasn't just a battle. It was legacy versus brokenness, strength versus shame. Or so they thought. Valari leaned forward as the final simulation loaded. A 3-world campaign, dozens of units. High risk. And Admiral Raxon wasted no time. He played aggressively, trying to crush her early, but Valari let him. She let him grow overconfident. She let him stretch his forces too far. And then she snapped the trap shut. One by one, his supply lines were cut, his outposts surrounded, his flagship cornered. When the final blow landed, silence filled the arena. Then a wave of cheers. Even alien news reporters stared at the screens, stunned. Paralyzed girl, one said breathlessly, just won the stratagem. As Valari was wheeled to the front platform, the Baron sat frozen in his royal seat. She raised her head, proud and calm. I am not a burden, she said into the mic. I am not broken. I am not a joke. She turned to the crowd. I am Valari. And I have returned. Marcus stood below, clapping. His smile said everything. She didn't just win a game. She took back her name. The Empire didn't sleep that night. Valari's victory was everywhere, projected on skyscreens, whispered in courtrooms, printed on star station walls. But in the royal palace, behind closed doors, the nobles were not celebrating. They were afraid. "She's dangerous now," one whispered. "She made the council cheer for a broken girl," said another. "No," growled a third. "She made the people love her." And that was the real threat. Valari sat in silence, still wearing the support frame, her hands shaking from the long hours of battle. She had beaten them. She had taken back her voice, but something still felt heavy. Marcus noticed it. He stood beside her ship window, watching the stars. "Tell me," he said softly. She looked up at him. "They offered me a position, Royal War Council." Marcus smiled. "You earned that, more than anyone." Her voice dropped. "There's a condition." He turned. "What kind?" "They said I can only accept if I cut ties with you." The words hit him like a cold wind. But he didn't show pain. He just asked, "And what did you say?" "I told them I'd rather remain paralyzed than stand without you." Marcus didn't move. His chest rose with a slow breath. Then, a warm smile. "You're stronger than them already." The next day, the threats began. Small things at first: her food poisoned, her files erased, her speech sabotaged. Then bigger ones. An explosive trap under Marcus's vehicle. He noticed it in time, but he didn't tell her until she found out anyway. "You could have died," she said, trembling. "I faced death before," he replied. "But this time, I'd be leaving someone behind." That night, the palace guards arrived outside their ship. "We have orders," one said coldly. "The human must be removed. He is a distraction." Marcus stepped forward, ready to leave quietly. But Valari rolled up in her chair, eyes sharp as daggers. "Touch him," she said, "and I will make the Empire regret it." The guards hesitated. She continued, "You gave me the stratagem. You gave me power. Now you want to control who I trust, who I fight for." The guards backed off. And the people watching from the shadows? They cheered silently. Because in that moment, Valari became more than just a survivor. She became a symbol. The next morning, the Baron summoned her. He sat in silence for a long time before speaking. "I created you, gave you life, trained you. You also abandoned me," she said coldly. "Left me to rot. You think this human makes you strong?" he shouted. "He makes you weak." She stood slowly with her frame, every limb trembling, but every word steady. "No, he reminded me I was always strong." The Baron slammed his hand on the table, then faced the consequence. "Valari didn't blink. I already did. And I survived." As she walked out of the throne room, Marcus was waiting. She didn't need to say anything. She just reached for his hand, and he held it, proud. The fire they tried to smother was now a flame too bright to ignore. The sky above the Imperial city turned gold. Ships flew in formation, banners waved, and crowds filled the Grand Plaza. But none of them came to see the nobles. They came to see her, the girl who once couldn't walk. The girl who had been thrown away like broken parts. The girl who rose again and took the stars with her. And beside her, always just a step behind, not leading her, not pushing her, but standing with her. Marcus, the human who had seen her when no one else did. The Imperial Council, under pressure from citizens across systems, had no choice. They voted 12-11. Valari was named Strategic High Commander of the Outer War Council, the youngest, and the first with a human consort by her side. But not everyone smiled. Some still whispered she was a pity case. She only won because of Earth tech. She'd break again. Valari stood on the council platform that day, dressed in black and silver armor, her support frame now slim and strong. She looked out at the sea of eyes and silence fell. "I was once called worthless," she said. "A joke, a gift no one wanted." She paused, "and I thanked them for that." The room stirred, because the one who took me didn't see trash. He saw hope. He saw fire. Her voice grew strong. And today, I do not rise alone. I rise with him. She turned and held Marcus's hand in front of them all. Some nobles gasped. Others clapped. The people cheered. The empire had no choice but to accept it. The girl they tried to hide was now leading their armies, and the human they mocked was now her equal. Weeks passed. Valari's command. Style became famous, smart, calm. Fair. She stopped wars without blood. She saved cities before they fell. She spoke to broken soldiers like she understood their pain, because she did. And Marcus? He never tried to steal her spotlight. He repaired ships, trained cadets, taught young soldiers how to think with heart, not just orders out in time. People stopped calling them the paralyzed girl and the earthling pet. They called them something else. The flame and the shield. One night, under the stars of a peaceful outpost, Valari sat on the ramp of their ship, her legs wrapped in a blanket. Marcus joined her, handing her a cup of warm spice brew. "You know," she said softly, "when my father gave me to you, I thought it was the end of my story." Marcus smiled. "It was just the beginning." She looked at him, eyes full of quiet strength. "Do you regret it, taking me that day?" He didn't even blink. That day? That was the day I found something worth fighting for again. Valari reached for his hand and whispered, "Then let's never stop fighting." And so the galaxy remembered. Not the shame, not the mockery, but the moment a broken girl and a stubborn human rewrote destiny side by side.